Today, however, we have Captain Raj Shetty with us.
Hi.
He has spent almost 3 decades. He started quite early in his life, complete self-made entrepreneur journey, started as a commercial airline pilot. And right now, he is a serial entrepreneur doing multiple businesses. Today, I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship, how to grow your business, and also how to manage people, because that's his main forte. So Raj, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And we are going to cover almost all the topics, but before we dive into all the meaty actual topics that we're going to discuss, can you tell us and our audience a little bit about your journey? How did you start? And you started at 9, so can you just tell me a little bit about it?
So it's almost more than 4 decades. Because I started very early. At the age of 9, I started helping out with my dad at his restaurant, being a Shetty. That's pretty much the traditional business that Shetties have had for like ever. So I started at the age of 9. From school, I used to go directly to my dad's restaurant and work for about 4 or 5 hours and then go home. So that was, it kind of set in some kind of, but that helped a lot. And now when I think about it, those days, I was not really liking it. But then when I think about it, I think I learned how to deal with people very early in life, and that has come in handy pretty much in my entire career for the last few years.
So what did you do going to the restaurant at such a young age?
Yeah, as I said, it helped. I think from the age of 9 itself, I learned billing, I learned handing cash, I learned pretty early those things. So I learned mental maths also thanks to sitting at the cash counter. That was pretty early. I learned more than I could in school, the maths bit. So that helped a lot. But overall, as I said, dealing with a lot of different people, dealing pretty much with all kinds of people, I think that kind of helped me understand a perspective where I'm equally comfortable with the CEO or a guy at the lowest level working a blue collar job.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So I think that's what it came in. As I said, I was not liking it then, but because it was eating into my playtime. But and now when I see it, I think it did help a lot. It really did.
I'm sure. So, and you started your journey as a pilot.
Yes.
You were flying as a commercial airline pilot.
Right.
How did that happen? When did you quit? Why did you quit? How did you start entrepreneurship?
So I think by the age of 17, I was pretty done in terms of the restaurant business, because me and my dad were going really different paths in terms of our ideas of running the show. And so I was in college by then, and somebody put into my head about joining flying school, and it just happened. I joined a flying school in India and then the US. I was lucky enough to get a break and get a job pretty early when I got back. So I joined an airline. I worked for almost about 11 years. And while I was still working, the last 4 years of that, I actually set up initially an aviation consultancy company. So that was the last 4 years. So I was actually working double shifts. I was still flying, and actually I had set up a company as well. So we were doing a lot of consultancy in terms of private guys looking to buy choppers or helicopters, or rather business jets for personal use. We used to do consultancy for that, and also a bit of training and things like that. So that was there. Then finally I decided eventually to, because you see, entrepreneur Kida, I would say, was always there, because coming from a business Shetty family, so that was natural. So I could only work for so long. So then quit full time. I was still doing the aviation consultancy business, then got an opportunity to get into an HR business. So I didn't know anything about HR at that point of time. I just happened to meet the right bunch of guys, I should say, and we began. So that began it's been about 15 years to that business. And so I'm somebody who kind of needs a new challenge every now and then. So I've been getting into different businesses from there on. And of course, I should admit, not all of them have worked. In fact, more businesses have failed than have succeeded, but that's the learning. And I think that's where I stand today, is a lot of learning as well.
Yesterday I was just discussing that, hey, my ex-partner is going to be coming and we're going to do this thing, and we were just discussing about what you do and stuff. And this guy made a very interesting remark, and I was like, Yes, that's so true. Is that most of your businesses that you do are in some sort of, even your aviation business, it was some sort of a service business,
Right.
right? And I
Right.
think you did have some product businesses too,
Right.
which but
Rather
most
not
of your
talk about
businesses
them.
are most of your businesses are
Yeah.
like service
Services,
businesses.
yes.
So why is it so? And how do you scale service businesses or be at so many service businesses or run them simultaneously? Because they require so much of attention.
Right.
And beyond the point, human interaction is everything.
Correct.
Right? So
Right.
how do you manage that?
So I think one of the things is I've always managed to find the right partner. So I am good at certain things, like I'm good at finance, I'm good at business development, and I stick to that. So that's the thing. And finding a right partner is extremely important. I mean, as I said, and of course, as I said, I failed more in businesses than I've succeeded in. So it's not that I found them all to be good. Some of them were not good enough. But if you see, also more of all my businesses are pretty much human resources related. In that sense, is there's a lot of manpower requirement, be it the logistics business, be it the staffing business, all of that are manpower related businesses. So they are in a way complementing each other in some ways, but that's what has helped.
That's quite an interesting and I think a very unique positioning as a serial entrepreneur. I don't think a lot of people are able to pull this off, where they are also aware that, hey, these are the things I'm good at. And if I find the right partners to run the ops, I'm going to be able to do multiple
Correct.
businesses at once, right?
Correct.
That, I don't think that a lot of people have that vision. So I think in everyone that I know, you are one of the most unique profiles that way, So yeah, quite. And by the way, just so you guys know, this man can beat Google hands down with regards to the amount of information he has. And I'm sure right now he's challenging ChatGPT in some or the other way. As a person who has done multiple businesses, today I really want to dive into the whole. Most of the entrepreneurs today, we were discussing that they're so short-sighted. They want to just build, sell, move out. Nobody is actually thinking about any long-term vision. So what is it that you would want to tell these businesses who are desperate and hungry to grow fast or sell products?
See, whether you're, regardless whether you're selling a product or you're offering a service, I think there is a lot of founders go wrong in the idea that, I want to exit the business in 3 years, 5 years. And that's the goal they try to create. They try to scale too fast. And that's where probably 8 or 9 out of 10 fail, probably almost 9 and a half of them fail. I think if you should look at it just like a traditional business, think about it that this is what I want to pass on to my next generation. And I'm not saying don't sell, you still sell. You sell probably not in 3 years, 5 years, but probably in 10 years. Because that's when you bring value, because if you are building it for yourself is when you will build real value. When you are building it to sell, you're not going to create any real value, because any investor buying in also sees that, because he sees that you're building something because you want to reach a revenue mark, and then that's what you just want to exit. That doesn't make most investors also comfortable at all. So the idea is, if you think this is what I want to have, this is what I'll pass on to my next generation, sell in 10 years, no problem. Because you will still be in charge of the company and sell in 10 years, that's fine. But don't build only to sell, build to last, and you'll be able to sell at a much better valuation.
And it makes more sense also. When it comes to scaling a business, right? So though you've covered most of the points that we wanted to cover in this section, most of the time, people, when they're talking about scaling, what is one of the things that nobody talks about or gets missed out the most while running a business?
I think, see, if I have to look at the number of startups, let's say in the last decade in India, I think there are a lot of fluff companies. I'm sorry to say this, but these are fluff companies. These are not really offering any value. They're just looking at somebody from a good college background coming in and not really offering a service. They're simple as that. It's the end of the day, if your service or your product is solving a problem that needs solving, that's what the people are missing. They're coming out, they're rushing with products. Most of them are just copying one another. Most of them are either integrating Google Maps and doing something, whether be it a rideshare app or any of these cosmetic companies and all of that. Everybody is just copying one another. You're not really solving a problem. People were still buying a lot of these things, or people were still traveling without all these things. But the real value, and why people have been new founders have been misled, because a lot of these initial startups got a lot of valuation. They made a lot of money. money, regardless of how much money they're burning. Nobody looks at that now. There will come a time where the corrections will come. So, investors will get tight. And if you see the trend is in terms of the last couple of years, the investment market is not so strong because people want really new ideas, things that are revolutionary, things that are changing something. That's when you'll get money easily. And that's something a lot of people miss. They're just trying to copy and get into the business, get 3 years, 5 years exit.
ऑब्जेक्टिव ही शॉर्ट टर्म चल रहा है यहाँ पे. आपको स्केल करना है, आपको इसलिए ताकि वैल्यूएशन है ना,
वैल्यूएशन करो, पैसा ले लो और निकल
जाओ. सो इट्स लाइक कि कॉपी करो सीधा सिंपल फॉर्मूला, बट दे आर नॉट एक्चुअली थिंकिंग.
Absolutely, nobody is solving a problem. You tell me one company that you think of in the last decade which has actually solved a problem for the first time. Everybody is just copy pasting somebody else's idea.
Yeah, that's true. You worked in different markets, right? And you like India, Middle East, Europe, like you worked in so many places. You're also well traveled. How do you think an entrepreneur's mindset changes across these markets? Like whatever, like right now Indian entrepreneurs, the way they are behaving, is it like across the world, like all entrepreneurs behave like this, or this is like our entrepreneur breed here?
The last couple of decades, I think, is primarily the Indian market, because we have a huge market. We have 140 crore people to play with. So also investors by default are more interested because the market size is so big. So even if you're selling a niche product, even then a small, and let's say only 1% of Indians are going to buy that, that's still 14 crore is your target. So that difference is huge. And while it's just not the same in the Middle East or Europe for that matter, because the entire Europe's population is more than Indian middle class population alone. So our markets are so big, and that's why it's an automatic attraction for the big venture capitalist companies to come in India and fund it. So that's the reason we are, as I said, becoming repetitive. We are not really reinventing the wheel. We're just doing some copy pasting and doing those kind of things. But if you look at the same thing in Europe, probably if you look at ratio, probably 1 out of 6 or 7 companies in India getting funded, while in Europe it might be 1 out of 50 companies which is getting some kind of funding.
Okay, that's a huge difference. Yeah. Okay, coming to people, as you've been dealing with people all your life, some or the other way, either they are in form of partners, the teams you build, the clients you interact with. Coming to people, what is one of the biggest mistakes startups or founders rather make when it comes to building their team or onboarding new talent?
This could be, more than just one. I think one of the things is a lot of guys, while interviewing or meeting the candidate for the first time, they make their judgments based on their appearance and the first 5 minutes. And then they have already liked that person. And what comes in is what we call it as confirmation bias. Then even if they see some flaws, they actually let go. Because
that happens with me a lot even now.
They like the guy already, the guy or the girl or whatever. They already like the person. So they're like, okay. And this is where it comes back to bite you, because one wrong hire, long term the impact is much higher than a lot of people think, because you're now spending timing on training, you're trying and downtime till the person picks up what he or she needs to do, and then redoing it all over again. The impact, they say, is 18 times of the guy's monthly salary on the company for revenue. That's an HR world calculation. Don't ask me the logic behind it, but they have come up with this figure that a wrong hire will cost you 18 times of that wrong hire's monthly salary. So that's a mistake people do. As I said, the confirmation bias, and probably the other one could be trying to get people below what they are worth. So that's another mistake that people do. They try to convince them that they promise them the sun and the moon ahead, and then they miss out on good talent, because somebody who's already working at an X amount is not going to come just because it's your dream, it's not his dream.
Correct.
So you have to identify that, and you have to be able to pay him what he wants and what he deserves.
Correct.
So that's a couple of mistakes most founders do at the moment.
That's true. And you usually, very often I've heard you talk about a people first approach, right? Being in people business. So what does it actually look like in a company level with regards to their culture and stuff?
See, culture is something that trickles down right from the top management at the end of the day, if you do it right. So, right when we started, we had, so me and my partner, we had policies like we would actually go to the guy's home. For our initial, we had a small team. So we would go midnight for his birthday to his house with a cake. Those kind of things. So we retained. So we almost, I think, our initial batch of 12 people that we had, the first when we started the staffing company, 9 are still with us. So after 15 years. So that itself
that's a huge deal.
Yeah. So there's a culture culture, of course, now it is not the same now because we have multiple offices. We try to do our best, but there's only so much you can do in terms of a personal touch. But we try to be involved in the employees' personal lives, if there are any challenges that they're facing, which is not during office hours, but what is happening outside. We do our best, but whatever with our limited times, which of course, as I said, it is not a perfect science. Nobody can do it right. But then being involved in your employees' lives, personal lives, also trying to be there for them when needed, I think that makes a huge, and that's where loyalty comes in. Loyalty
Correct.
doesn't come just because you're paying well. It doesn't come that. In fact, again, quoting another HR thing, salary is the fourth reason people leave a company.
Yeah, they're like, what are the first three?
First is your leadership and your immediate management. 2 and 3 I don't recollect, but I can tell you the salary is the fourth reason.
Like mostly people think that it would be salary as a first reason, but
absolutely.
That is so true. That's true. Now, this is one thing that I have seen with a lot of small businesses who are trying to scale. When they scale up, like suppose if you are a customer to a small business and now suddenly the business has become big, suddenly you are no longer feeling important. You're not given the kind of client servicing that you were getting, because somehow in scaling up, they've also lost their culture. So how do you think a business can retain their culture and their values while they're expanding? Because team is a very huge part of your USP, right? Correct. So how can a person do that, or a business can do that?
Again, I think the onus falls on the top management, where they need to talk to their team on a regular basis. Most founders or whatever, managing directors, XYZ, they actually, once the team builds in size, they stop talking to their guys. They talk to them through their managers, or they just have 1 or 2 people who are reporting what's going on. So that's where there's what a lot of mistakes happen, and that's where so we what we do is we have a monthly Zoom meeting with most of our employees. So they are open. There's an open forum, so they can ask questions. They can ask questions without anonymously as well. So we have those kind of processes inbuilt. Again, as I said, it's not a perfect science, but talking to your team on a regular basis, even if you are grown to a 400, 500, 600 employee company, that's the key. That plays a very key role, because at the end of the day, if my employee who's sitting in a remote office somewhere in the Northeast, he knows that he can reach me or my partner at any given time, that gives a different level of confidence. Yes, there are some negatives to that also, because a lot of complaints and things keep coming up which might not even be true, but then we need to filter that at the end of the day, because communication is the key. If you are able to communicate at the top management, as I said, if the employee at the lowest level feels that he can approach and we are approachable, that's a huge difference. A lot of founders lose their way. The initial team is 5 or 6 people, it's all friendly, then it goes to 20, 30, 100, and suddenly you don't even know the names of the employees that are working with you. So I think that's where they lose their ways.
What do you think, what is more important, a culture-driven approach or a performance-driven approach? Because again, we are all chasing bottom lines. Most of the businesses are like trying to optimize, and in that, then there's this whole conversation about mental health happening on another hand, work-life balance, right, which is encouraging culture to take the front seat more. Correct. So what do you think, who wins here? Because commerce is the reason we are in the business.
Yeah, exactly. So they are interconnected at the end of the day. So if you have the right culture, performance automatically follows. So just performance might be there in some companies which not necessarily have great culture. So it's not that it doesn't exist without culture, but a good culture is something, it takes build. Now, if let's say I come into your organization and I try to change the culture, it might take me a year, 2 years. Even if you are a 15, 20 people organization. So imagine trying to change the culture of a 400, 500 or 5,000 people organization. But culture is something in the long term that will give you, yes, you need to have the patience, and you need to be able to withstand probably some low months in terms of performance. But then if you have done the basics right in terms of getting your foundation people right, that will take a little bit of time, but set the culture right, then you are a winner in the long run.
Okay, so the long game is culture and performance follows.
Yes, absolutely.
I think this is very important for entrepreneurs, at least in this year and day and age, to remember that everything is not about bottom line. We become so number driven and data driven that we're forgetting that there are people behind these numbers. So that's very important reminder. There is one more thing, by the way, which is very trending right now, where we are automating everything. everything. Okay, everyone is talking about, hey, let's automate this process. Okay, any repeatable task can get automated now. Okay, and again, I personally feel the people element gets eliminated. What is your take on it?
See, this is something like, when the computers first came in, they said they will be all be replaced. People will be all replaced. That didn't happen. In fact, jobs increased. So it's similarly now with the AI and automation. I think similarly, you might be outdated if you don't know AI, but cannot do your job at the end of the day. You still need humans to do most of the jobs. Yes, automation is a different aspect. Yeah, in some terms of probably in production, if the companies are into manufacturing and production, some of those jobs might be replaced with automation. Yes, but otherwise in traditional jobs, service industry, I don't see really AI automation really replacing humans. I don't see that as possible because human touch at the end of the day does the real job. It's AI
And
can
I
do
think
so
that
much.
is going to be your differentiator, right? Like as
Exactly.
businesses which are human driven,
Exactly.
like that will become your differentiator.
Correct. I mean, it's
Because
a simple logic. There are IVR calls for a very long time now. How irritated do you get when automated voice answers
oh
your
my
calls?
god, it's so
While
irritating.
vis-a-vis a human calls. I mean, a human calls and you are, let's say, very angry already on the company, and automatically your anger level goes down by like
Yes,
70%.
because you're talking to a
Because
human
now
being.
you're talking to a human.
Yeah.
But same IVR irritates you more and more.
Correct. Oh, that's so true. It's very irritating to be like in the loop of.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a very good example actually. We'll talk a little bit more about the whole legacy versus building and exit. What is a mindset difference that an entrepreneur needs to have when it comes to building and selling versus building a legacy that survives times?
Correct. So as I said, I mean, unfortunately, we've been have had certain guys who have done multiple startups and exited with a lot of money in the last decade and a half. So that is, if you ask me, but that's probably 2 out of 10 million. So of course, people don't see the numbers. It's just like somebody in IIT gets placed for 5 crores a year, but then there are 100 other IIT students who didn't even get an offer. Nobody looks at that. So it's similarly like that. So this has been, these guys have spoiled the culture a lot. People are thinking that I'll start this. I have 3 ideas. Let me start this. In 3 years, I'll exit. Then I'll do my second idea. Then another 3 years, I'll exit. Then I'll do a third idea. So most of these then eventually, some guys are lucky, they get through. Some guys get funding even without even strong fundamentals. Let's say they're just lucky, that's about it. But then vis-a-vis legacy, as I said, if you build to pass it on to your next generation, you'll build it out of love and you'll build it out of genuinity. So the product at the end of the day is far more valuable and you'll be able to exit at a much higher valuation. And exit is not always selling to another investor. It could be a simple IPO and you could still get in and you still hold 70-75% of the company and still running the show.
Yeah.
So funding will come. It'll just come in different forms. So that's the reason
So funding and exiting is not the only way to scale up a business. You can actually build it to a level of becoming a limited company.
Absolutely. Exactly.
That's true. And I think that is something, again, I think people need to be reminded that is entrepreneurship, right? It's a lifestyle altogether. It's not something you do, get out, get retired. Like
True.
It's right. And let's talk a little bit about your HR coaching business, your HR consultancy business. What is it that you're doing for different companies here, and any case studies that you could maybe tell us about that could be interesting to listen?
So basically what we do is we work with a variety of clients. We work across industries in the consulting space right now. So we become your strategic HR partners. We are not your HR person who will do your payroll or those kind of things. We don't do your attendance and payrolls and all those things. We are strategically involved. We work in such a way that every employee of yours, we are able to show a tangible revenue what that person is generating. Even if he or she is not directly revenue generating person. The idea behind it is we actually so we all start the process with an initial diagnosis of the company, learn where the challenges are, what the employees are feeling, because as I said, again, like most of the guys are not comfortable talking to the management or the HR, the internal HR about it. So we become the external agency. We run anonymous surveys. We get to know first was, and all our policies, all our learnings begin again with the management. We sit down with the management. We want to learn what are they thinking. What is their vision. Now, what happens a lot of times, people like for your company, you might be thinking that I want to reach 50 crores in 3 years or 4 years, but your employees know that this is what you're thinking. They don't know about it. So this is where the change we bring in. This is your employer's vision. How is your vision? So we bring that into alignment. We bring in what are their personal goals in life. So that personal goals matching with their professional goals, we bring that into alignment. So we bridge the gap between the management and the employees, which is a lot of our companies we have seen, they have grown big, but it's chaotic, completely chaotic, and they have reached a zenith where they don't know how to do the next step, because they just don't have the team, or the teams are not trained enough, or the teams are not in sync with what the management is thinking. So I'll give you an example of a company that we are working with. It's an export company. They're doing about 490-500 crores this financial year.
Okay.
Unbelievable, if you ask me. It's a 7-employee company.
Oh, wow.
With only...
that is 7 employees and almost 500 crores.
Yes,
that's like
exactly.
100 crore per head kind of.
They have some contract guys in their plant, about 25 of them. That's about it. 7 employees on payroll, which includes the founder's wife as well. So technically only 6 employees, or even 7. So we did a visioning with him, and he said he's looking to build at 2,000 crores by 2030. So then what we did is our team sat with his team here and well as with the plant, and they are looking at 1,500 by 2030. So that was and when we actually then sat with the founder, he himself was surprised and happy both. So we arrived at a compromise figure at 1,200. So let's make that the target. Because probably he thought 1,500 is a little too high. So what happens is, as I said, what happened is when we met my team met all these guys, they didn't even know what their companies do.
Correct.
What the numbers they're doing. They didn't even know how many countries they're exporting. Half of them didn't know that. It's, of course, the ones who are managing the paperwork, they knew it, but half of them didn't even know. So it was like, isolation everybody was working. So this is where we got the syncing done together, and things are now moving. They've already moved to a newer office earlier this year and a bigger office, and they are now starting to explore the Indian market. So that 1,200 target is only for the export market. Besides that, the Indian market, because they're setting up a different company for it. So that's it. So that's what we become the growth partners. Because HR otherwise is only seen as traditionally involved, just doing your offer letters and your salaries and your resignations and FNFs and things like that. But we do much more than that.
And that's very interesting space that you've actually tapped in, because I don't think that there are a lot of people who are claiming this, but not anyone is able to actually comprehend, because becoming, and I think the experience plays the most vital role here, because you've seen so many businesses grow, work, not work, and it's I think that brings a lot of insight to be able to talk to another founder and say that, hey, founder to founder, this is where the gaps are, right? And as per you, what do you think are some blind spots in leadership team? Just this one too was a very fabulous case study where like the team is more ambitious than the management. Himself, So this was like a lovely case study over here. But are there any blind spots that you often see that most of the founders suffer from, or leadership has?
If you look at blind spot, I think a lot of the guys, most founders or even the traditional old school businesses are very, very reluctant to spend money on training. Now that's where I see a huge problem, because a lot of people mistake that a very good salesman will become a good leader. So that's where a lot of there's a lot of gap. People automatically assume that somebody who's good at a task will automatically become a good leader.
Correct.
Which is not the case. But at the same time, guys doing multi-million-dollar revenues are still reluctant to spend on training. The typical case being, हम इतना खर्चा कर देंगे, ट्रेन कर देंगे, वो लोग छोड़ देंगे तो फिर क्या मतलब है? So, it's a very simple thing. The moment you say that, the question I ask is, अगर आप ट्रेन नहीं करोगे और वो लोग छोड़ेंगे भी नहीं, तो think about that scenario now. So, that's what it is. The long term, that's your loss. If people, you're paying good money to train people, and if they leave, no problem, doesn't matter, because it's the culture again you're setting in your organization where employees know that, they're personally, that they will professionally, they will grow with the company.
Correct.
Exactly. So that's what it is. And that will automatically get loyalty into your company. Just knowing that, every 3 months I have a program where I'm learning something. Most people will not.
So does the attrition rate drop because of training and development?
Absolutely it does, because what happens is, see, you're not really running a degree or a diploma course. You're running probably a 1 day or a half a day course, training programs. So once the employees know that there is something to look forward to, every quarter there are 4 trainings, or every year there are 4 trainings or 6 trainings, people want to learn more. They want to actually build themselves, because these are people who know that they have to work for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Correct.
So and this training is costing me nothing. And I'm doing it in office hours and costing me nothing. So let me learn. So there are people who your attrition automatically drops, because you know that this is an organization that is taking care of my professional growth, not just paying me a salary, but they're actually thinking about my professional growth. I can see my self in 2 years. I might be an assistant manager. I might be a manager in 4 years, 5 years. So there is a growth chart. The guy knows. That's his path. He knows the path. He or she knows the path. So that's where makes a difference. Their attrition will drop. It is a myth that people सब training लेंगे और भाग जाएंगे. It doesn't really work that way.
That's true. So I think we got like some great insights today on people as well as businesses from you. We will just do a quick rapid fire before we wrap. I'm going to ask you pointers and you tell me what you think about it. So one thing that founders overcomplicate.
I think I have met quite a few of them. I'm part of some groups like that. So a lot of them overcomplicate their pitch decks itself, if you ask me.
Pitch decks.
Yeah. So that pitch decks are so complicated. It's never straight, and they also exaggerate valuation. There are people who have not done a European revenue and already are valuing 20x of their projected revenue. So that's very overcomplicated. That means pretty much your rejection is guaranteed.
Okay. What is that one thing that most of the founders underestimate?
I think most of the founders underestimate the intelligence of the investor, just because they think they're meeting an investor who's not from the industry, and they underestimate his or her study on it. So because see, investors are smart cookies. They will always have either in their team somebody who's from the industry, who's there for the day, or they will sit with somebody with your pitch deck for days together even before coming. You will not know about it, but they'll do every damn study under the sun that's available. So a lot of founders think that they can actually fib here, fib there, and overestimate yoga. But investors are much smarter than them, because they know they're going to give you money. If they're going to give you money, they need to know whether this guy knows the market or he's just fibbing in.
Correct. Hiring fast versus hiring right.
Always hiring right. As I said, even if it takes 2 hours of final interview with the founders, you might as well take the trouble to do it. A lot of founders initially do it, but once the team grows, they stop even getting involved. But I think in startups in the initial 3 to 5 years, founders need any key positions. Founders need to take interviews and take good lengthy interviews, and there are enough tools out there in the market to learn how to gauge a person. I mean, online, offline, both available. So do that, take that effort and hire right.
Which brings me to founders' intuition or data?
Always data.
Always data, not intuition.
See, it's simple. I mean, it's far more easier to compare last 5 to 10 years what's happened in the industry than somebody who's going to say, whatever has happened is irrelevant. This is what is happening. I know it. It doesn't really work that way. Nobody's going to invest any money into your intuition. People will invest only on data. Okay,
but in day-to-day running of business, like, should a founder be intuition dependent or data dependent?
It's a 50-50 depending on a case-to-by-case basis. A lot of it, see, once it's your baby, you know what you're doing, then I think intuition, yes. But then if it has already been there in the business for a couple of years, you've been in business, then you will have to rely on data also at times. But if it is your baby and you've been there from day one, right, since the baby was born, then intuition.
Okay. For yourself personally, okay, not like in a general sense, build to last or build to sell?
Obviously build to last, because as I said, you build for 10-15 years and still sell. What's the hurry? You build real value in that period of time. You don't build value in 3 to 5 years, then you're only looking. And once you're in the market looking and you get rejected for a sellout by 3 or 4 people, you're done. I mean, your business is also going to suffer, because there's a lot of bad press about it, and the word spreads around. He's looking to sell, he's not finding a buyer. No. As I said, be in a position where people start approaching you to buy rather than the other way around.
Nice. So it was a very good session. Raj, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do watch this entire episode. And as I said, if you want me to talk about our entire journey, then DM me gossip and we will take it from there. Thank you so much for joining us.